Oh God. Now I now I remember everything. Hey everyone, it's Movie Lover 120 here, and I'm here with a brand new rant. And this rant is going to be for none other than, of course, the fourth installment in the Transformers franchise. And this, yeah, I think we can all know the name of this fourth installment. And that is most definitely 2014's Transformers Age of Extinction, or as I call it, Transformers Age of Franchise Fatigue. Because this is where everyone was just like, that is enough of these Transformers movies, please. For pretty much everyone was like that. But before I get into details, let's say the plot of this. 65 million years ago, an alien race known as the Creators used devices called seeds to cover planet Earth in an alloy that will one day be called Transformium. In the present, 5 years after the battle between the Autobots and Decepticons that leveled Chicago, humanity thinks that all alien robots are a threat. So Harold Ettinger, a CIA agent, establishes a unit whose sole purpose is to hunt down all of them, but it turns out that they are aided by another alien robot who is searching for Optimus Prime. Cade Yeager, a robotic expert played by Mark Wahlberg, buys an old truck, and upon examining it, he thinks it's a transformer. When he powers it up, he discovers it's Optimus Prime. Later, men from the unit show up looking for Optimus. He helps Yeager and his daughter Tessa, played by Nicola Peltz, escape, but with the help of her online boyfriend Shane, played by Jack Rayner, I think his name is, but are pursued by the Hunter. They escape, and Yeager learns from the technology he took from the men that a technology magnet and defense contractor named Joshua Joyce is part of what's going on. As they go to find out what's going on. Yeah, it's the plot of the movie. Anyway, after Dark of the Moon being just an okay sequel, I was just kind of done with Transformers there. I felt there was no reason, and I hope there would not be any more sequels after this film. However, sadly in 2013, I found out there was going to be a fourth movie the next year, which was not surprising considering Dark of the Moon made a $1.123 billion at the box office. So I tried to not go see it. Besides, I was now in high school at that age. I was starting to outgrow Transformers because it was just almost everywhere I went, and it was starting to get really annoying. Sadly, by the time June 2014 came, I got dragged to this movie by an old friend of mine that really wanted to see it. So I went around on the very last week of 10th grade in school. And what did I think of it? Man! This is easily the worst film of the franchise by far. I have never been so close to wanting to leave multiple times. I even kept going to the bathroom quite a few times, waiting for this 3-hour pile of shit to just end. However, I ended up staying because I didn't want to leave my friend behind. But seriously, why couldn't my friend just pick... I don't know why of all the movies we had to go see, it had to be this one, instead of like, maybe How to Train Your Dragon 2, or 22 Jump Street, just something that is not this. Why did it have to be this movie of all the picks? This is the one we had to go see. Anyway, here are all the bad qualities of this film. The bad qualities, just like the previous two mediocre Transformers sequels, this movie keeps having a lot of the same problems with those films. Like, it's filled to the brim with awful and ridiculous humor, poorly written dialogue, racial stereotypes, annoying characters, shaky camera movements, unnecessary government-related scenes, lots of exposition and backstories, and way too many explosions, and the Transformers themselves not having enough screen time, unlike the human characters. serious, seriously, it's like Michael Bay randomly decided to what go back to what he did with Revenge of the Fallen, even though he should have learned his lesson of why that sequel did not work because of all the crude jokes. So Michael Bay just went back to making crude jokes this because, well, I guess the fans are now grown up, so I guess I can do all that crude little vulgar gross stuff I usually do in every R-rated movie, like the Bad Boys movies. I'll do that again now that the fans are getting older. Yeah, that still didn't work, dude. No. And Cinnamon Sins even kind of stayed. And let's get on with Tessa. And probably the worst character of this whole movie. Tessa is basically this stereotypical damsel in distress brat who needs to be saving and is constantly screaming and whining the whole film. I don't know what Nicola Pelt's performance was worse. Katara in The Last Airbender or Tessa in this movie, but I wouldn't know. Also, another thing about her was inappropriate for Michael Bay or the movie's executives to make her look like a model-looking hot chick, like Megan Fox or Rosie Huntington Whiteley in the last two films, and have camera shots of her butt and legs, despite the fact that she's just a young girl. So yeah, there's, and then of course I really don't like her boyfriend Shane. He's this obnoxious douchebag the whole film, and even and speaking of Shane, Shane is Tessa's boyfriend, guys, and Tessa's actually 17 years old. Her boyfriend Shane is not. Because we have this uncomfortable scene where Shane was justifying his relationship with Tessa the Kid, despite him being this 20-year-old adult, while she was still in her late teens. And he even shows that he carries this fake laminated card with a description that authorizes his relationship with a 17-year-old high schooler, which was not only creepy, but unnecessary in a film about robots, and, even Kate threatened to call the police on him. He should have did that. This guy should be in prison. This movie is not really even creative at all, as it follows the same structure of the previous films. The human characters are introduced, there's government conspiracy happening around the Transformers, the Autobots, and the Decepticons arrive for something. There's a big battle in the middle of the story, more government conspiracy, the characters think of giving up, but they decide not to. The big final battle with lots of explosions and where the heroes win. And the acting from the human characters is horrendous, especially from Nicola Peltz, Stanley Tucci, and T.J. Miller is in this one, guys. And it doesn't help facts because I don't like T.J. Miller. Because not just because he's this big man-child that basically creates a bunch of terrorist threats for attention, like faking a bomb. I forget where it was, but just his character in general is probably one of the most annoying characters in the entire franchise. He gives a terrible performance and constantly gives up bad dialogue, but on the bright side of things, at least his character's only in the first half, because thankfully he dies and he's not in the whole movie, because at least they killed his character. And the movie's runtime is way too long for a Transformers movie, with a runtime of 165 minutes, with nothing interesting even going on in this movie. This film focuses on establishing sequels rather than being a movie or a story, either. Not only that, but this movie recycles way too many plot elements and tropes. One of the worst examples is the scene where the Autobots go on the battle on a huge spaceship in Chicago, making the whole battle feel like a rehash of Dark of the Moon. Some false advertising too. The Dinobots were advertised in trailers and posters, a major part of the movie, but the Dinobots barely get an amount of screen time in this film, and they only appear in the final act. And the pacing is very slow, which makes the movie boring. It doesn't help that this movie is almost 3 hours long, and lots of padding makes the whole movie feel longer than it actually is. And the movie's opening gives the Transformers way too much backstory, which completely ruins what made them mysterious. On top of that, it barely affects the plot. There's even too many unnecessary slow motion scenes, especially the scenes where they use a car to punch a human soldier. Yes, this really happened, guys. It still overuses a lot of explosions, since then again, it's directed by Michael Bay. And much of the events are still really pointless, with several plot holes and a lot of unexplained details everywhere. For example, why is there an Arctic officer named Darcy for no reason? When they got away from their house as the whole house explodes, that was when the previous shot is suddenly back to normal. How did the human characters manage to get through a fast-moving fan engine, and how did Shane know that Tessa and her family are in danger at the beginning? And many of the action scenes tried so hard to be fun and exciting, but most of the action scenes were generic and mediocre throughout the movie. Not only, and what's more, Michael Bay was so lazy that he didn't fix some errors in the movie, such as scenes going in the day, then night, then day again, and location of American buildings in Hong Kong. The subplot of Galvatron using the seed to destroy the planet feels pointless and feels like it's only added to make Megatron be a villain. Who is actually Galvatron in this movie, guys? It even has numerous product placements everywhere across the film, especially for CNN, Oreo cookies, Goodyear, Victoria's Secret, Voice Mansion, etc. Some of these can be barely noticeable, but others are extremely hard to notice, like the pill from Beats, and of course that unnecessary close-up of Bud Light bottles, and what's more, whatever you liked My Little Pony or not, there was a very shoehorned and shameless product placement from Hasbro that Rainbow Dash appears from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, as it turns Rainbow Dash into a gun. And when the film was being filmed in Hong Kong, extra cars can be seen behind the Aston Martin and McLaren artificial Decepticons and Stinger. This made fans believe that they were going to be new characters, but this ends up being false because they're rarely in the movie and they don't even transform. And this begs the question, why were they even there if they weren't going to be used in the first place? And the redesigns of Optimus Prime and Bumblebee look nothing like them at all from the previous three movies. Like, what happened? Is this like a reboot? It's supposed to be a sequel, but this feels like a reboot. The entire movie was just made to pander to the Chinese government and Chinese people, as most product placement in the movie are Chinese, and there's a scene where the Chinese government says the government will do anything to protect its people. Again, there's no problem with that. I don't mind something like that, guys, but come on. I'm pretty sure Transformers not propaganda. With those bad qualities aside, though, there are some good qualities that are rare to find, but still in this film, such as, I guess the good qualities are that the CGI for the Transformers is still awesome, and like the other Transformers, this movie doesn't kill a bunch of known and beloved Decepticons. Instead, the Autobots kill a bunch of generics, and reintroducing Megatron as Galvatron could please some fans, until he apparently returns as Megatron again in the next movie I'm about to watch for the first time. Top-notch sound design, just like the previous films. The Blu-ray was the first to utilize Dolby Atmos audio. The cinematography isn't too bad, even the IMAX 3D version, and the change of characters and setting is kind of nice. And the dark tone of humanity betraying the Autobots was brilliantly executed. This might also explain why most Autobots from Dark of the Moon are missing, as they might have been killed off screen. Lockdown is a decent villain. Instead of being Megatron's boss or someone who's trying to destroy the world like in other movies, he's this bounty hunter trying to capture Prime and stop anyone in his way. And Ratchet Death is really emotional and sad with Optimus Prime being angry over his dead friends, especially with Ratchet was kind of chilling. And I gotta say, Mark Wahlberg is actually one of the best parts of this movie, who actually gets involved in the action. His character, Kate Yeager, is actually a tolerable protagonist, unlike Sam Witwicky from the last three movies. He's not deep or tragic, but out of all the cast, he's the only likable. And Hound, Drift, and Crosshairs are great new characters. The Transformers do almost get a lot of screen time, which still makes this feel like a Transformers movie a little bit. And the decent final battle at Hong Kong, the fight scenes are still cool, even if they're not as good as the previous films, and the soundtrack that was performed by Steve J. Blonsky on Imagine Dragons is the best-selling point of the movie. Some great voice acting for the Transformers, especially Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime, who adds a lot of human emotion to his performance this time, and the same goes for John Goodman as Hound, as well as Mark Ryan as Lockdown. And Hound's Fat Ballerina line is kind of hilarious, but good qualities or not, this is easily still the worst Transformers movie out there, and until 2018, it pretty much killed off any interest in this series for me, and I never revisited it again until Bumblebee. So that's why I did not go watch it last night, but knowing what I have to review next, fuck, I'm about to. Anyway, the point is, my recommendation is you please do not pop this onto your Blu-ray player, because there is no reason to watch this movie whatsoever, unless you want 3 hours of your life wasted down the drain, and here's how I'm going to rank it. I am going to give Transformers Age of Franchise Fatigue a 2 out of 10. Nope, there we go. just covered my most hated Transformers movie out there. Now I gotta go gotta go watch the one I vowed to never watch, but now I'm probably going to have to because I gotta review the whole series, and if I just skip what comes next, which you probably all do know, then it doesn't count, really, and it's kind of cheating. I wish I could, though, but I can't. Yeah, we think we know The Last Night is next, and I ended up getting a lot of warnings about The Last Night. Like, a lot of my subscribers who are Transformers fans are like, be careful with this one. This is one of the most atrocious. Please be careful when you watch this. You're about to sit through a lot of hell if you see this. Well, we'll have to see from my perspective. But until then, that'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching. And if you like this and want to see more, then don't forget to like, subscribe to Movie Lover 120.